Hello everyone, we're back with pattern number 5 in the attacking patterns, the King H6 Greek gift. Now, you've heard of the Greek gift and you should have watched attacking pattern number 4, the Greek gift proper. So how does this one differ from the Greek gift proper and why is it called the King H6 Greek gift? Well, someone's missing and it's the dark squared bishop, and this turns out to be very important and we'll see why in just a second. If you've watched part 4, and you should, or attacking pattern number 4, the Greek gift proper, you know why it's so important that this bishop be present. So, the one thing to remember here is if the king can safely reside on h6. Now in general, due to the absence of the dark squared bishop, the king can actually be quite safe here. But admittedly, it's quite rare that this pattern occurs without the presence of the dark squared bishop, but it happens and you should be very much aware of that. So how does the pattern play out? So we have the typical Greek gift with this sacrifice, and here mate is coming, and if king g6 we have the familiar queen g4 as well as possibly queen d3 check that we just added. But the problem here is that after the sacrifice, king h7, knight g5 check, here there's king h6. And due to the absence of this dark squared bishop, there are no such ideas, and the queen will find it difficult to come here. Usually what happens in these situations, you try to come from this route, but it turns out that black usually has enough defensive resources. Now how does that exactly work out? Let's see the first game we have here, the first sample game. It's Boris Spassky against Rudolf Teschner. Rudolf Teschner was a very strong player as well. Let me just fix this because whoops, it's kind of cut off at the edge there, at the top there. So yeah, okay, and this should be good. Resize it a bit. So yeah, let's see how Boris Spassky was actually able to defend against the sacrifice. So we'll go through the opening very quickly. We have this exchange. Wait, I went through so quickly. It's an exchange, queen's gambit, and this stuff with bishop b6. So already now, like, this bishop is a bit sidelined, so you have the possibility to attack, and here white just goes for it. But note the absence of the dark squared bishop, and actually even if the dark squared bishop was on c1, the pawn would be blocking it. So the king comes to h6, and now white thinks, okay, I have this, threatening queen h7, and if takes, of course taking would uncover, whoops. So if black takes, taking here would uncover this check. But it turns out that black has g6, blocking queen h7, and now white tries to desperately open up the position, but the king is just taking all the pieces and there's actually nothing here. So the king hides safely, and now, like, for example, takes is met by rook f7, and everything is a-okay. Now white tries to go for these kinds of sacrifices, eventually on h8. Like, of course, if they were tripled up here, they have, whoops. This is happening way too frequently. So if they're doubled up here, they have this queen here and can go to h8 for mate. But of course that's never happening. Queen f6 adds further defense to h8, and this basically kills all kinds of counterplay. And the game went on a bit. It's still not completely easy. Black even sacrificed the queen, but of course they get a lot of pieces for it. And here the two minor pieces plus rook are always winning against the queen. It's just a matter of getting them coordinated. But it's not so easy, and I'm not sure if Spassky really converted this in the best way, but of course it's good enough. And yeah, I'm just going through this game for completeness sake. So just go through this quickly. If anything catches your eye, you can always view the game in on Lichess, and I post the link always in the video description. So here, if this occurs, then check, forcing takes, after which knight c3 check would hit, forking the king and queen, and if it takes immediately, knight c3 check immediately. So that's a very nice defense by Spassky there, and it shows that not always this Greek gift is winning. Sometimes it's actually very, very bad. So we have sample game number 2. I'm not sure why it's cut off there. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't change anything actually, so that's a bit weird. Yeah, so we have Wojtaszek against Najdic. Very strong pairing we have here. So let's see who was able to win between these two super strong grandmasters. And now you see the result finally. So we know that Wojtaszek won. So let's see how he did that. So we have another, well, invitation to an exchange, but it turns into a semi-tarash. And all of this, well, not all of this has been seen, but many of these moves have been seen. Now it's of course a new position. And now the sacrifice is played, seemingly with too few pieces. But now with queen g4, it turns out that with rook b3 and perhaps rook e4, the rook lift is deadly and black has no defense. Black tried to capture to uncover this bishop's attack on the queen, but then came check, check, sacrificing the knight, forcing the knight to be accepted, forcing the knight sacrifice to be accepted. I keep messing up here. That sucks. Sorry guys, you have to bear with me. I think it was like this. Yeah, now it's better. Just a little bit like this. And now it's still not optimal. Let me fix this. Just some OCD over here. Yeah. And here white sacrificed, but now they have queen g7 check. The king can't, well, it can, and it does. Step here. If it goes to f5, it's basically the same story. The rook gets lifted. Actually, white starts with this check first. Actually, they made, oh, I thought they lifted the rook. Of course, here you don't lift the rook because the bishop is defending, but against king f5 you lift the rook. So here g4 check, forcing the bishop to take away this square from the king. And now after this check, this is mate. Very beautiful mate, very nice calculation by Wojtaszek to, I bet he spotted all of this. Actually, I haven't reviewed any interviews after this game, but I'm pretty sure he spotted all of this. Alright guys, so for our test, we have Elmira Skripchenko taking on Sergei Kishnev. So let's see how this game proceeded. We have a French, one of those burn variations without the doubling of pawns. And we have this line, very complex, I know, but we're not going to analyze the game. So here, the question is, should white go for the Greek gift sacrifice, or should they hold off on that? Your task is to find out the answer. Alright, so pause the video and try to find out the answer. Okay, so the answer actually was not played in the game, or well, part of it was played. So let's zoom through quickly and check out the game again. And here the sacrifice was played, and the king came on h6 to h6 because the dark sword bishop is not there. Yeah. And here Elmira went for the highly creative queen d8, which is connected with this tactic, of course, connected with the d8 square. So of course white didn't just blunder the queen or anything. You'd think it's defended, but it's not. But actually it turns out that after bishop d7 she's just way worse. So she's forced to part ways, and now she has with the well, not the exchange, but she's forced to play these two minor pieces against the exchange, and it turns out against the rook, and turns out that it's not so good. And here she just blunders a clean rook. So here she was already a bit worse off. She probably should have played something like queen a3. Let's maybe ask the engine. Yes, queen a3 actually. Yeah, just to avoid any of these nasties. so maybe she was afraid of her queen getting trapped or something. But yeah, she just blundered here, and it's just not enough. She tried to fight on, but yeah, it wasn't enough. So what should have happened here was actually, instead of the very creative queen d8, quite simply just queen g4. The point is that after f5 you have queen h4 check, king g6, queen h7 check, and after king f6, queen h4, it's a perpetual. So the sacrifice was correct, but it was only good enough for a draw, which is good because Almira misplayed the opening, in fact, because here, actually instead of queen b6, I think queen f6 was offering black an advantage. Now just to go further in that line, to note here that after queen h7 check, this knight is not touchable. It cannot be touched on account of queen takes g7 check, and here you can see the mating knot. The rook can swing in here. Note that if f4, knight e4 check, you're covering and after e5, the queen can swing over and you're covering the g5 mating square. Now of course after queen takes f8, white is just winning, quite simply material wise, but there's a quicker way, and that's with rook a b1, getting the queen off of this diagonal, so that after the queen is forced to sacrifice itself, here you can just take. And if the queen moves anywhere else, like let's say to c6, you go f4, and now queen g5 is basically unstoppable. Of course, knight e4 check, knight e4 can be played, but then rook h3, rook f3 and rook h3. So Almira missed that, but yeah, it was a bit perhaps, well, it wasn't so tough to see, but she was maybe too attracted to that queen d8 idea. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. I hope you got something out of it. Take note here to always be on the lookout for when the bishop is missing on c1. It doesn't occur often, but when the bishop is missing on c1, you need to be very careful not to just sacrifice and play the Greek gift, because without the bishop on c1 you lose a lot of firepower, and king h6 can turn the tides, and just black usually wins after playing king h6, but not always, and sometimes it's a draw. So we've seen a win, a draw, and a loss actually in these two sample games and the test. Alright guys, so with that, thank you for watching, and take care, and bye. And too many ads. Alright guys, bye.